Hi everyone, in this video we're going to be working on this ghost illustration. You should be able to find this template in the goodies that I provided in the challenge hub. I'm gonna start merging these three layers and I'm going to reduce the opacity a little bit. Now I'm going to create a new layer on top, and I'm going to use the palette that you can also find in the goodies that I provided. It's this one right here. So we're gonna make the sky first. Let's select this color over here, and I'm going to be using the dry ink brush. If you want, we can also lock this layer so that we never draw anything on top of that. We always create a new layer. It won't allow us. If I try to do that, it'll say that it's locked. So that has saved me many times. Okay, I'm going to just, I'm going to trace over. It doesn't have to be exactly the same. As I always say, we're creating blobs. So it could even be any shape that you decided for it to be, as long as it's all the way closed. There we have it. So now we're going to bring this color and drop it in. Remember, it has to be all the way closed, because if it's not, what's going to happen is that it's going to flood the whole canvas, and we don't want that. There. Okay, so now I'm going to bring this back here so that I can still see my template, and I'm going to start making the clouds. We're going to create a new layer, and let's make the clouds white first, and then we're going to give it a bit more color. So I'm going to create one over here. I'm going to make another tiny one here. Actually, be sure, let's remove the background color so that we can see what we're doing, because after doing this, we're going to clip them so that they stay within the area of the sky. So we want to see how far out they are and that they're actually closed. I'm gonna make one, a bigger one, that I'm gonna have. This is going to be under behind the tree and the ghost. And then I'm gonna make like something over there so that it looks like a little bit of a cloud that's above. I'm gonna make another bigger one over here. And in this tutorial, I'm gonna show you, since I have a little bit more time than when I'm live, I'm gonna actually show you how I spend a little bit more time with my clouds. I have never gotten to do that yet. So you see, that's where the flooding happens, because I didn't actually close my shape all the way. Okay, so that's looking fine. Now we can clip them by tapping on the layer and then tapping on clipping mask. Now we have them all within the space that we want. Now we're going to swipe 2 fingers to the right, and we're going to pick this pink color, and we're going to color this one right here. If you want to do that faster, let's do it with this one. Actually, I don't want a rectangle selection. I want freehand. I'm going to select this and I'm going to make it maybe this color. I'm going to tap on the layer and fill. Maybe it can be slightly yeah, that one is a bit, because we don't want those clouds to catch our eye a lot. I want them to look farther back, so the colors that I'm going to use are going to have less contrast than, say, the ghost and the trees that are going to be a bit they're going to feel closer to you. It's all going to make sense when we actually get to the ghost. But anyway, I'm going to do this with this cloud. I'm going to use pink over here. Just play with these colors a little bit. So sunset colors. In general, I would make this on the bottom because I'm thinking that the sun is hitting the clouds from the bottom, but you can also play around with it. I'm gonna do that for this one. You can also maybe do it a bit softer. I mean, I'm not paying too much attention to this part because it's gonna be covered by the tree. That's why I leave the template there to see what I'm doing. And maybe this part can be slightly more covered, so it looks like there's a bit more variation. And I'm gonna also add a bit of pink over here. This looks a bit weird, so I'm just gonna erase it. And we're just gonna okay. Let's see, we're gonna add a bit. This is all gonna make sense in a moment. Some of you already learned it a few times. Okay, so once I have this, what I like doing sometimes is I like spending a bit more time doing stuff like this. So I use my eraser and just go in a little bit so that I give that sort of more fluffy looking shape. We can also add, well, that's not going to be seen. As you can see, the tree's going to cover it, but we can also add like a little bit of a detail there. And even like with this color from before, we can do that so that it looks a bit more polished. But because we're also working on a challenge here, I don't want to make you spend too much time on it. I just, every now and then I like adding a few details. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to do is work on those trees. I'm going to create a new layer on top. I'm going to select this brown. And I'm just going to go over these lines. Very simple. And just close them out, like go past the sky shape. And do the same thing over here. Remember they need to be all the way closed. And then I'm gonna bring this color and drop it in the shape. With this brush, what happens is that sometimes you see a bit of a texture between the edge and the inner part. So you either fix it by hand, or what I do sometimes is duplicate these layers and then merge them, pinching them like that, and sometimes it just goes away. It's barely noticeable. All right, so now what we're going to do is bring this down here, and it'll immediately automatically become a part of the clipping mask from before. If it doesn't, then you can just tap on this and tap on clipping mask. Now we're gonna give these trees a bit of a texture. So let's select this darker brown. What I like doing for this, because we have 2 trees, to not spend so much time on them, is to do it in a different layer. So let's just, you see, like, I have to make it into a clipping mask. You see, if I create a new layer on top, it doesn't turn into a clipping mask automatically. But if I were to like drag it up and then bring it down here, it will. So just something to note. If not, you're gonna have to make it into a clipping mask. So I'm just gonna make these lines to give the tree a bit of texture. We don't need a lot of them, just a few, maybe like a few details here and there. It's a rainy night here. Nothing to do with this sunset sky. Okay, and now I'm going to copy this and I'm going to bring it over here. I have the snapping thing going on, but if you don't want that, make sure that it's not selected. You can either do magnetics or snapping. I just disabled both of them because I don't need it right now. And I'm going to just erase the parts because this tree is slightly thicker, then there were a few things outside of it. What I can do is pinch these layers and then to merge them, and then I can play around with the blending mode. That is too much. We can just use something like this, something lighter or something darker, and also change the opacity if you think it's too noticeable. I think in yesterday's live, I just went with screen because I liked it being a bit lighter. So now we have like a little bit of some added detail in our trees. So the next thing that we're going to work on is our little ghost. I have a rogue layer there, so I'm just gonna bring it up. And I'm going to trace over the template that I provided. I'm gonna bring the color in to fill in the shape, and then just go around the edges a little bit. You see, like for this particular one, there's no contrast between these two things, so I'm gonna teach you a little method that I use sometimes to add some texture to my shapes. So now I'm going to get rid of the template because I don't need it anymore. I can quickly use a gray. I don't have a gray in the color palette, but I can quickly get one from going to palettes, classic, and just bring this over here. And because this is like a very small detail, I'm gonna switch that layer into alpha log, and I'm going to draw over his little hands. And then that's it. Now I can just get rid of the template or bring it all the way down. I don't care. Okay, this is what I want to do. I want to go to sketching, bonobo chalk. I'm going to use that light gray, and maybe the brush can be at 10%. And then what I'm going to do is, you see, I'm going to add a little bit of texture over there. In my original illustration, I did it on this side because it's kind of like a shadow. And then with what I'm doing is with white, I'm just removing, because I can't, if I erase this, you know, I need the shape. And because I'm doing it in the same layer, then what I'm doing is adding white on top. Okay, so now we can work on his eyes. I'm also going to bring this cloud up a bit. As I'm creating more and more shapes, I tend to reconsider how the composition is looking. I would definitely spend way more time on these clouds. Okay, let's work on the eyes. So to make it simple, I'm going to create a new layer, and with black, or maybe with this same gray from before, I'm going to, wow, that's too thick. I'm going to split the ghost like that, split it here. And you see, like, I actually need this to be there because my ghost is looking that way. So let's get the black from our palette, and I'm gonna go to the ghost layer, create a new layer on top, and use this as a guide. So I'm gonna add one of the eyes over here, just a circle, and a bit more. That's a bit too big. There's like a bit of separation going on. Maybe they're too big. I like them when they're like super small. That makes it cuter. Just gonna select this one, cut and paste, and move it. As I said yesterday, you can actually place, when you're moving something with a transform tool, you can place your Apple Pencil anywhere and move it. You don't need to place it right here because that's going to cause problems. And as I said, for the longest time, I actually did that. I don't know why. I found out, like, I've been using Procreate for, I don't know, 7 years. And I found out way too late to admit. I'm going to add a couple of cute eyebrows. Again, make them super thin. They can be like that, or just add a bit of an expression, or they can both be facing the same way. But anyway, let's add a very small mouth so that he's kind of like curious about what's going on. It's like too far up. Bring it down here. Okay, and now we're gonna add a bit of a blush to his cheeks. Small detail. All right, so we have our ghost. I'm gonna get rid of this. You know what? We can also add a bit of a sparkle to his eyes with white for extra cuteness. The next thing that I'm going to do, we basically have our main illustration here. I am going to just, what did I have here? Oh, I'm going to delete this layer. And I'm going to hide the template. So now I only have this, the main illustration. And I'm going to add as the background, let's see. I think it's, I'm just gonna use the darker brown so that it's not exactly the same brown as the trees. Okay, now we're gonna start working with the brush set that I provided. So I'm gonna create a new layer on top, and I'm going to first use the brushes in the fall brush set. I'm gonna start with the mushrooms, and I think, yeah, that's all the way up. I'm going to select this color, I believe. No, because that's exactly the same as the sky. It's this one over here. And I'm gonna tap the canvas so that they appear, and I'm gonna bring them over here maybe. So for this one, I'm just gonna turn it into alpha lock. I'm gonna get my dry ink brush, and I'm going to select this color right here for the top part of this mushroom. Maybe give it a bit of a curved shape, line. what I did here was add a few details to not have it be super plain with this color right here. It's slightly darker than the mushroom color, but not too much. And actually, I'm just gonna show you with that texture brush. What you can do is use it at a 8% size, and then add a bit of texture, maybe to the bottom. All these like tiny details add something to the piece. Okay, I'm gonna now use the grass brush, stamp, I should say, that's over here. And I'm going to make it maybe that color. Yes, either that or the next one. They're very similar. And I'm going to bring it over here so that it's kind of covering the bottom part. I'm gonna get dry ink brush. I use it all the time, so it's always under recent for me. And I'm just going to add a few details here and there so that it kind of looks like the ground. All right. So we have our mushrooms. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna start adding all the stamps around. I'm gonna create a new layer, and I'm gonna try to create a new layer for each stamp. I may forget. I always forget, but that's. So I'm gonna go to the fall brush set, and I'm gonna grab this fern one. For this, I actually can just select the orange right here, and I'm gonna put it there. Then I'm gonna create a new layer. I'm gonna go to this one, the dry leaf one, and I'm gonna put it over here. I don't want it like that, so I'm going to go to the transform tool and rotate it from this green thingy. I'm gonna flip it vertically, and I'm gonna rotate it a bit more. Bring it over there. I like having some of the shapes above the sky so that you can actually feel that they're kind of like there's an interaction going on, and this sky thing is behind it. I'm gonna make it over there. I'm gonna rotate it like that. And you see here I'm also putting part of it over the tree. Okay, and I'm gonna create a new layer and put one there. Wow, that actually worked out perfectly. I wanted that to be in his hand. That actually worked. So I'll just bring it up a bit so that it looks like he's holding it. And let's see, 3 of those look fine. And now I'm gonna go around this way. From this brush set, I still need a couple more brushes. The Flying Leaves 1 brush. I'm gonna grab this color over here, and I'm gonna place it over there. I'm gonna create a new layer, and I'm gonna place it over there, make it smaller, flip horizontally. And then this one doesn't have a lot of contrast with the sky, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna swipe right here to make it into alpha lock, and I'm gonna make it the same color as those other leaves. Right, this orange right here. Remember to go back to your other brush or use the selection method that I taught you before. The next thing that I'm gonna do is select this lonely flying leaf and put it. Oh, that's not allowing me. You see, like, that saved me because I'm in the same layer that has alpha lock, so I can't do anything. So I have to create a new layer. I would like for it to be looking up, so I'm gonna rotate it like that. I love that right now. I thought that it was too early, but actually right now I saw, I'm gonna create a layer. Earlier today, I saw that the leaves are starting to fall. It's actually, we're actually getting close to fall. I love that. Okay, this is Flying Leaves 2. I'm gonna put it over there. And what else do we have? Actually, I forgot. This Flying Leaves 1 also belongs up here. That's perfect. I forgot to make a new layer. But because I did, what I could do is select them and just get the transform tool and move them on their own. I'm also going to get green, select this one, fill layer, and make that one green. Let's actually make another one over here, so that create a new layer, and so that they're kind of like surrounding the sky like that. Make them into alpha lock and make one of them orange by doing what we did before. Over there. And I think I'm done with the flying leaves. Another thing that we can add over here is a fern 2. I'm gonna go behind everything, the trees. So I'm going to just add, I'm going to go to the clouds layer and just add a new layer on top. Then create a fern over there. You can adjust it however you want. That one can actually, I'm going to swipe right and make it slightly lighter. You see, like, it looks like farther back. I think we're done with this brush set. I'm pretty sure. So we're gonna use the Daisies brush set. I'm here, so I'm just gonna get this guy, make it white, and put it over here. I can't do it. I go all the way up, create a new layer, and put it over there. Then I'm going to, actually, I forgot about the acorns. I'm going to create a new layer and add one over here. I want it to be like that. And another one over here. I'm going to put it that way. And now we're going to, I forgot to do this during the live stream. So I'm going to teach you how to add some color to this, so that it's not just a shape. So let's turn that layer into alpha lock, and with this color right here, first we're going to just paint it fully. Then I'm going to grab this darker one, make the brush thinner, and do that. So that it looks like there's a bit of a top. And then I'm going to paint that over there. If you want, it can be a bit more pointy. I'm just with the lighter color, I'm just going around the edges like that. And then I'm gonna give it a bit of a like grid, I should say, with a darker color. And by the way, you probably already noticed that I did this a million times, but instead of going to the color palette, sometimes I just get the eyedropper tool that way by holding with my finger. And I'm going to do that. So it's a little something, but it adds some detail to our acorn. And then instead of doing that again, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select it, swipe 3 fingers, and duplicate that shape alone. Then place my Apple Pencil wherever in the canvas, except for there, and bring it over here. And because I have the white one from before, I know exactly where it belongs. Now I'm just gonna go back to the previous layer and delete the white one by selecting it, and actually just maybe swiping those 3 fingers and cutting it out. Okay, I think now we are actually done. No, we're not. No. I'm going to get this dry leaf over here and use this orange color and place it over there. Okay. Okay. Let's see. It's a bit too small. I'm gonna make it a bit bigger. Like that. Okay, now we can actually move on to the next brush set. Daisies. I said this before, but if you were at Summer Creative Retreat and you got this brush set as a resource from me, I have added 2 new brushes to it. So be sure to get it again from my challenge hub. Okay, I'm going to start with this leaf over here, leaves 1. And this one I'm gonna make yellow. That is way too big. Let's make it maybe like 40%. And I'm going to adjust it a little bit, and then I want to make it like part of this mushrooms group. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna either do that with the eyedropper or get the color from the color palette and get my dry ink brush and go down to the layer where I had the grass and extend this ground area by doing that. And then for this little fruit over here, I'm going to get the pink, go back to this layer, and just paint that one. Okay, we are getting there little by little. We're gonna go up here, get this brush, Leaves and Fruits 1, make it green, and create a new layer and put it over there. I'm gonna make it bigger, I'm gonna rotate it, and I'm gonna put it over there, and then just sort of erase this so that it looks like it's behind the sky now. Let's make this into alpha lock, and then with a dry ink brush I'm going to get white and make these little fruits white. Awesome. And now I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to add, let's see, this one, Daisy Group 2 over here. I'm gonna make it orange. And I'm gonna add it here. I'm gonna erase these little bits. And I'm going to convert it into alpha lock, get white, get my dry ink brush, and with a selection tool, I'm gonna, so that I make this faster, I'm going to select the ones that I want to be white and alternate then with maybe yellow. I selected those three. I'm going to go tap on the layer and go to fill layer with white. And then I can do the same for the other two, but with yellow. Then we can figure out this situation over here manually. I'm gonna make them this yellow, like kind of pale yellow. Fill layer, that's it. And now I'm gonna paint that. I'm gonna get that color and I'm gonna make the center parts. Okay, and what else do we have? We have this one. This one over here, leaves and fruits. I'm gonna make that one this color. Create a new layer, put it over here. Put it on top of the tree so that it's noticeable. Maybe make it slightly smaller. I'm gonna get the Daisy group 1, make it this color and put it over here. Way too big. Undo. Maybe we're gonna make it 12. We're gonna make it 40%. No. We're just gonna make it that size over there. Okay, now we have those two to work on. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select this color, alpha lock. This actually, doing all of this kind of trains you to remember to create layers and to activate alpha lock, because you have to do it over and over. And then maybe the fruits can be this yellow. And then for this one, I'm gonna make the fruits this orange. Because it's in a different layer, so I have to turn that into alpha lock. And then quickly go over those. Okay, we're good. And now we're gonna go back actually to the layer with the grass and add, with that color, that's this one, add a bit of a ground over here too, by just creating these horizontal lines. And that's it for that. Okay, so what we're going to add now is with white. I'm going to go all the way to the top, create a new layer and make it thin, maybe like 7%. And go over, kind of like I always say, playing with the shape, but not really going exactly, not really tracing exactly where it is, just slightly offset, so that we give it like a cute outline. And it's a very, very subtle thing that makes it, the illustration, a bit cuter. Play around with it, see how it looks. You can also, like, for instance, do that and then delete this part so that it looks like it's going behind the acorn. Same here, behind the acorn over here. and something like that. Maybe add some lines that come and go. And then, just as always, I love adding a few dots, especially when it's white on top of something dark. I believe that adds a very magical little detail. You can put these very close to the shapes, and sometimes to occupy a bit of negative space. That also helps. Just sprinkle them all over. There's no fixed rule for this. Wherever you think they look good, you just do it. And that is our illustration. If you want to change the background to a darker one, you go to background color, and maybe you can also play around. See, sometimes you surprise yourself. You have this whole color palette to just play around, see how it looks. I believe that because I already thought of this as like something with a darker background, then it's gonna look better with dark, but you never know. I mean, sometimes something else looks good. It can even look like a a children's book page where like the ghost found something in the woods. Anyway, I hope you liked this tutorial, and remember to subscribe to the channel so that you'll be told when I go live next time, and maybe even include another one of these workshops in high quality, high definition. Okay, see you next time. Thank you for being here.